In last week's video I was working on this lead screw and I had to stop because there was a little bit a problem with my lathe here. The lead screw doesn't spin anymore, so I had to investigate. So I took the cover off from the little gearbox here that I have here, and I quickly found out that inside here there's basically nothing wrong. Everything seems to work as it should. But the knob here that should move the gear left and right with this tab here, you can see, you can hear that there's a click. And the click completely on the right side over here doesn't hold, which means while I'm using the lathe slowly but surely this knob is turning a little bit and then the thing is out of gear. That's all. Now luckily this happened while the carriage was moving back when the tool was retracted. If it should happen during the cut and the carriage doesn't move anymore, that would have ruined my workpiece. So I was lucky on this one. So now that I know that there's nothing serious or nothing broken in here, I can put it back together. All set. And now, to prevent it from kicking out of gear again, I think I found a really professional solution. That will do. Sometimes in bad luck you can also be very lucky, like this time. I just installed my gearbox in whatever setting and I put it all together, and now that I want to chase the thread again and find the exact spot, I see that it is the exact spot, so I had to do nothing at all, just continue cutting. It's maybe not a piece of artwork, but I think that will do. The finish is okay-ish, but nothing really special. Now, in last week's video, in the comments, someone said, I think it was Steve, hey, it looks like the pitch on your thread is different than the original one. And indeed, and there are two reasons for this. The original one has a 4mm pitch, and this machine cannot cut a 4mm pitch. And the second reason is, this is the original dial, and it goes from 0 to 20. Now, I never understood the logic behind it. It should go from 0 to 40 4mm pitch, right? But I don't want to change this one, so I changed the lead screw to a 2mm pitch. 0 to 20 will make it a lot easier. And now, before I cut off this part to glue it on the new one, I would like first to make the nut. You never know what kind of screw up that can happen. So just to be sure I don't gonna mess up this one for nothing, let's make a nut. But the nut is hidden behind here and there's no access, so let's take this table off. There was last week a very interesting question from Huub. And Huub, he asked me, how do you know if the wear in the thread is in the nut or in the spindle? Now, I had a very scientific system to measure. I take my calipers and I put them here and I compare with here in the middle. That is of course not the way to measure threads. All I do here is compare the distance here between here and more than one place, and the difference in thickness of one spiral is about 0.4 of a millimeter. So you can even see without measuring. The camera doesn't pick it up, I tried it, but you can see that here the thread is in almost perfect condition, and here in the middle there's not much left. And the thread in the nut is more or less okay-ish, but not perfect. Right, and now that I have it all apart, I have to think. That's gonna hurt. Whatever. The thing is made of steel with a bolt here in the middle, and the thread part is, I suppose, bronze or something, and it's a bushing that is pressed in. I don't see any set screw or nothing that holds in place. So I think the first thing I'm gonna try is to press this one out. Not even in my dreams. Oh. It moved. Yes! That went far easier than I thought it should go. So that's good. Now all that's left to do is to make a new bushing like this one and press it in here. And I have here a nice piece of, I think it's brass. So how hard can it be? His famous last words. Before I finish the last pass, I'm gonna give it a little bit test. I think it will work just fine. Give it a little bit more of leading angle just to get it started. Right, let's do this. Good. Cut it off and over to the press. As you could see, it was a little bit a press fit and a hammer fit at the same time. So I don't think it will come out. And in the meanwhile, I also installed the thing here in the forge jaw, and never mind this little center point because it's not in center. To cut this board to size, I will use my brand new little two-sided boring bar. And someone asked me in the comments if I wanted to explain a little bit more about how to make these. Of course. As you can see, it's just a piece of round bar. Now this used to be a tool of some kind. And I used a triangular little insert, and the bar is a tiny bit smaller than the length of the insert. Let's look at it this way. The bar, if I remember well, this one is 14 millimeters diameter, 14, and my insert is 16 over the whole length, and I installed it a tiny bit above the center. And the only reason for this is that here below, if you put it on center, the top side of course, there's not enough meat left to put this little screw in. So I installed it a little bit higher, and because of the insert is bigger than the bar itself, you can use both cutting angles. That's all. A tiny bit oversized, but I think it will work. This lathe is set to cut a 2 mm pitch. But because my workpiece is now in this one, I think it makes sense that I will cut the thread in this one. theory, the thread in the nut is now cut to size. And my bar here, it is a really tight fit, really too tight. And just to be sure that I didn't make any mistakes here, I take a measurement on my threaded rod here, and I see that it's now 3/10 over. And if you think about it, in fact, it makes perfect sense. When my cutting tool is cutting here the thread, of course it's gonna push up some material right here. Makes sense, right? Which means when the thread is finished, you can really see this rim. So I took a file and I filed it off, and now it looks okay-ish, and so okay. But of course it means that my cutting tool made a bigger burr than I thought it made. So all I have to do is take this burr off, this one and this one. So reinstall it in the lathe, recut a little bit this diameter to make it again 20 and not 20.3. I'm using the shear tool for the shaper here to do the final part. Good finish. And a final touch with my heavy duty toothbrush. And now let's find out if it works. I think I was lucky on this one, because it doesn't always work out this nice. But whatever, now it works and I'm very happy with it. So I think now it's time to cut off. Now that this thing is cut, screw up is not allowed, because there's no turning back. The thing didn't work because the drill bit I used, there was a bend in it. And then I took another one, and now it works perfectly fine. So far, so good. So I suppose now it's bozo time. I completely messed up my thread here. Don't know what happened. Probably some measuring mistake. So the thing is too loose. But I think I'm gonna use it anyway. If I manage to tighten it a bit more than strictly needed and install a pin, I think it could still work. I'm working on the other side, making this part. And because this is a bearing surface, this one has to be perfect. It is 4/100 oversize, but I will finish it after. First I will cut this thread here, and I think it's a metric 14. That's a nice fit. This thread went far better than the other one I made, so that's good. I think this part is a success. All that's left to do now is to drill this little hole here. And of course it's a completely old size, nothing normal. But in my box of old sizes drill bits here, I think I found one that maybe could work. So let's drill a hole. I have a new lead screw.